Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Space Between podcast. I am Renae. Thank you so much for tuning in today to this special podcast that is being titled All Things Gorge. So 2023 was my very first time to the Gorge, and if you've been a Dave Matthews fan for even a minute, you have heard about the coveted Gorge. Heaven's Amphitheater is what some call it. And so on my first trip, and of course as a big Dave Matthews Band fan, I wanted to record the journey so that, of course, I could enjoy it looking back, but then also for people that are interested in going into the Gorge or have just maybe been, but have been a long time ago, I wanted this to be a video that kind of not only showed you my first voyage to the Gorge, but what to expect on a typical Gorge trip. Now, of course, there was no way that I could cover every part of the Gorge because it is such a massive venue, and you'll find out some more information a little later. But I did try to get as much as I could, being just a one-person man, even though my husband and several others that were there helped me out. It's such a large trip and a large undertaking for me. I did the best I could, so I hope that this is helpful, and if not, I hope it's enjoyable. We had so much fun. We learned a lot about the state of Washington, and so guys, I hope that you enjoy this episode, All Things Gorge. Hey guys, welcome to my All Things Gorge episode. So I am going to walk you through about 30 minutes of my voyage, all 5 days that we took to travel from Northwest Arkansas to the state of Washington to attend our very first Gorge. And so that's exactly what this video is going to do. It's going to walk you through my voyage. And hopefully the results of this video is not only to entertain you, of course, but also, I hope that this is helpful. So there are probably a lot of people that are indeed Dave Matthews Band fans that have heard about the Gorge, but never conquered it, have never been to it, because if you're anything like me, it was kind of intimidating because it is so far from home. It's a place I've never been to before. And typically what I had heard from other fans that had done it was, it was a lot of work. It was a lot to plan for. And so if you're anything like me, planning is not necessarily one of my most favorite things to do, especially when on vacation. It's necessary, but not one of my most favorite things to do. So this trip was definitely one that we did the best we could. And so I hope that you enjoy this voyage. So the video starts out, of course, we left from our national airport here in Northwest Arkansas and made the voyage to Seattle. And because we live in Northwest Arkansas and we have only a national airport, as you can see there, isn't it beautiful? State of Arkansas, it's my favorite. We actually went, where did we go? I think we went to Chicago, from XNA to Chicago, and there we are on the plane. And we're so cheap that we didn't want to get seats next to each other, but it all worked out. As you see, we made it to Seattle, Washington after Chicago. And so this was my husband and I's very first time to visit Seattle, at least together, and especially as adults. And so we were we loved Seattle, from all this fresh seafood that you're seeing, any kind of fish and seafood that you could possibly want, but then also the freshest fruits. We were not prepared for the amazingness of the market at Pike's Place Market, which is actually one of the largest continuously operating public markets in the United States. It's been open since 1907 continuously. So of course it's one of Seattle's most top tourist attractions. We loved every bit of it. You see those 4 peaches right there? We paid $20 for 4 peaches, but I'll have you know they were 2 of the best peaches we ever had, because we didn't eat all 4. Waste of money, but beautiful. So there we are, enjoying our food and taking in all of Pike's Place Market. And right below Pike's Place Market is something called Post Alley. Now, we found this as we were Googling things to do in Seattle. And so as you can see, it's a touristy type place, but you can stick your bubble gum anywhere. And so that was a fun touristy place. Of course, we took some really great pictures with the graffiti in the back. And then look, we even ran into some friends thousands of miles away from home that were there for Dave Matthews Band. And there's my husband, Justin. And of course, we just took pictures of each other having fun in Seattle. We did a lot of walking. We did a lot of walking in Seattle, but we took in so much. We were just, again, the beauty, the flowers. Oh my, that flower is as big as my face. It's beautiful. But we just walked around and enjoyed an adult vacation, right? We had no agenda that day. So I would definitely recommend spending a day in Seattle if you ever go. We took a ferry to Bainbridge Island, which is just about a 40-minute ferry ride. We had a blast. It's beautiful. And as you can see, we even, when we got back to Seattle, we ran into the very first Starbucks that was built in 1971. And yes, we found another restaurant, of course, in all our eating, but this one actually makes their own cheese, and that is what they're doing there. They're literally making their cheese, and then you can buy a grilled cheese sandwich. You can buy mac and cheese with the cheese that they just made. It's Beecher's handmade cheese, and there's not only one in Seattle, but there's one in New York City as well. So after a full day in Seattle, that Thursday night, so night 00, there was a family meetup, and this is always one of my most favorite things to do. People come a night ahead, whatever city the band is playing in, and you just get together and you talk about the excitement going into the concert. And it's just a great place to kind of catch up with people. Hey, how you doing since the last time I see you? And there's really no agenda that night other than just being social. So that was a lot of fun. Okay, so leaving Seattle, how do you get to the Gorge, and how far is the Gorge from Seattle? Well, I have those answers for you. So it's just under 3 hours from Seattle to where the Gorge campgrounds are. It is 150 miles one way. And so be thinking, if you do land in Seattle, how are you going to get from Seattle to the Gorge? We were lucky enough to know some people. Andy, my editor, thank you so much for letting us ride with you in your RV all the way to the Gorge. And what I wanted to capture with this video, with this footage, was just the beautiful scenery leaving Seattle, headed to the Gorge. I want to highlight, though, that how the scenery completely changes from moment to moment driving from Seattle to where the Gorge is. Here you can see it's full of mountains. It's beautiful. I mean, it's breathtaking. So I really wanted to capture this. I mean, it looks like they're as tall as they're in the clouds. It was a beautiful drive. So we're so thankful that we got to experience it on a beautiful day where it was not raining. It just really was one of the highlights of the trip, is the scenery on the way to the Gorge. I know that there's some other routes that you can fly into different cities and come in a different way, but we chose Seattle just because we had never been together. Now, as you can see, the scenery is completely different. We are on the way to the Gorge still. We haven't stopped. So we went from mountaintops in the clouds to flat desert-like land. But as you can see, that land is being used for all of the windmills there. And of course, lots of traffic. Now, we are going down the hill, and this was exciting because, again, my editor who was in the RV with us was like, we're getting close to the sign, and he was like telling everyone to get ready, that we're about to get out. There we are at the Gorge Amphitheater sign, the famous sign that everyone has to get their picture. There was lots of Dave Matthews Band stickers on there, and lots of people that stopped and were waiting to get their picture taken as well. So here we are, we're rolling into the Gorge. You can see a lot of this is the campgrounds just waiting for the RVs. Andy and his crew dropped us off. We were in 2 different campgrounds, so they just dropped us off at the entrance to Gold, and then they went on to Premier. But this is what it looks like driving in. And so let's talk about camping, because that was one of the hardest things for me to figure out, because there were so many levels of camping at the Gorge. So let's talk about this. As you can see, and the beauty of YouTube is you can still pause this if you want to look at this, but this is several of the camping maps that I got off of the internet. And I think these are super, super helpful when you get closer to going to the Gorge, just to kind of know what your surroundings are. So again, there are many levels of camping. There is standard simple camping, there's Premier, there's Terrace, there's 2 different Gold levels, there's glamping, and then there's Oasis. We were in Gold, but we were in the part that did not have power. So all of these RVs that you're seeing here were parked in Gold RV that were running off of generators. There is a section where they have power hookups, but that was actually just across that tree line right there that you can see there. And so they had power hookups for them. And I'm being told that that was something that was relatively new in Gorge offering. The campgrounds were full. We didn't get to see all of them, again, because the acreage at the Gorge is more than what one can walk. Just walking from the actual venue to Premiere is 1.5 miles. So keep that in your mind as you're thinking, you know, how readily accessible is that. However, with Premiere, there is free shuttle from the venue to camping. So that is one of the perks of Premiere. Gold was a lot of RVs, mostly RVs, but some campers too. Now this is a view as we are walking from Gold to Premiere. This is the road. So this would be the terrain that you would be walking or you know, walking to and from to see different people. But here we are, and that building that you see there is a great big market that is available most hours of the day for you to get essentials, food, drinks, type like that. One of the beautiful things about walking from Gold to Premiere is that it is, you know, there are some parts that are beautiful. And you can see why Premiere is different, why Terrace is different. They have views of the actual gorge, whereas Gold does not necessarily have those views, but it is in close proximity to the venue, so it's less walking. So really you kind of just have to weigh what are the pros and cons, what are you wanting out of this trip, what are you able to do physically, and then picking your camping level based on those things. Now these are some pictures that I captured in Gold parking. That is actually Premiere, but I had to take a picture of it because look, it's the space between sites. It was my favorite campground that I saw, so shout out to whoever that was. Now that one was in Gold, but look, Razorback and Longhorns. Andy, I guess that's me and you. I don't know. But I found Dave as well. So one of the cool things about the Gorge is there are always events. Now I can only speak for Gold because that is where I was. So night 0, which would have been Thursday night, and so Seattle would have been Wednesday night. But Thursday night, they do a huge potluck for everyone. You bring a dish and you know, everyone shares. This was such an organized event. Someone had even made signs with fire dancers on it to tell, you know, these are the appetizers. And I think I have some pictures of this. So many people showed up. You know, we brought our dish, we ate. It was a great time of just, you know, getting together with the people you haven't seen in a while and celebrating the fact that you are, most of you, a lot of us are across the country to see our not only our favorite band, but to see people that we maybe only get to see one or a few times a year. Now, one of the cool things that also happened at Gold was there were several auctions going on for different organizations that were raising money, Maui being one of them. That we will talk about later. But here are those cute little signs that I was saying someone had made with fire dancers. Now later that night, Gold Camping also sponsored something called Freaks on Parade. And so I came prepared, as you can see. I found that really cool DMB light. It matched my wings. I became part of the butterfly club that I didn't even know existed. But here are a few videos of Freaks on Parade. Enjoy. Fucking amazing. Ah. You other brothers can't deny that when a girl walks in with an itty bitty waist and a round thing in your face, you get sprung. When I pull up the stops and you know that but what's up? What's up, she's wearing. I'm looking at kids out there and oh baby, I wanna get with you. What you got makes me so horny. Got the smooth skin. You say you wanna get my bands. Use me, cause you ain't that average groupie. I see you dancing to help me romancing. Getting seats out there. So, girlfriend got the butt. Yeah. Shake it. Shake that healthy butt. Baby, I'm back.
T-Rex. I was wondering if anybody had that.
Okay, so the next day, of course, was day one, which would be Friday. And we start the day off again in gold, because that's what I know, at the Gold Camping Breakfast Burrito Fundraiser. Now, this was a fundraiser to raise money for the Wounded Warrior Project. And so that is the Venmo right there, that people were able to share donations if so inclined. But what I want to say is this event was so well organized. As you can see, lots of volunteers, even with t-shirts that were made, they were ready to help not only just serve, all of these people that have shown up in Washington to see the Dave Matthews Band, but to raise money for a cause that is near and dear to so many of our hearts. And so, again, if you want to send money to the Wounded Warrior Project, you can still use that Venmo code that you saw just a few minutes ago. They were able to love on others, but they were also able to raise a lot of money for their cause, and that is going to be shown. I want to say it's $4,000 that they were able to raise that morning, but that's going to be shown here in just a little bit, because I knew that I wouldn't be able to remember all the facts and figures. But as you can see, lots of people showed up. And I, of course, tried a breakfast burrito. It was amazing, like one of the best burritos I've ever had. There I am with my big ass burrito, bigger than my head. So there it was, $4,000 raised for the Wounded Warrior Project. So thankful for all the people that showed up, and thankful for all of the people that made that happen. So what else do you do when you're at the Gorge? Well, one of the options you have is Cave B Winery, which is located really close to Gold Camping. So again, that's another perk of Gold. It was a walking distance from Gold. So as you can see, it was a beautiful day Friday. It was just warm enough to be comfortable and not be too hot. Everyone, as you can see, we're all having a great time. We're hanging out. We're excited about night one, but also we're able to get some really amazing wines there. So if you're a wine drinker, you would absolutely love this place. But if you're not, there's also live music. As you can see, lots of two of my favorite, Daryl and Kelly, just shaking their thing right there. But lots of live music by Dave Matthews Band fans. So let's listen to a little bit of the music that happened while we were there.
Relaxing, all cool. I was shooting some b-ball outside of the school. When a couple of guys, they were up to no good, started making trouble in my neighborhood. I got a wild little fight, my mom got scared. She said, "You went to Auntie and Uncle in Bel Air." I went up for a cab, and when it came here, the license plate of Russian hit dice in the mirror. If anything, I could say that this cab is weird, but I thought, man, forget it, you're home to Bel Air. Well, I pulled up to the house around.
So there I am with a lot of my friends. We're just having a great time. As you can see, the wine was pouring. There's my amazing husband with his wine glass. We all got a souvenir picture at Cave B. And so just so many amazing people there. So good to see each and every person. There's Michelle from Arkansas, and I was like, hey, lay down, let me take a picture of you. And so I love how it turned out. There's Billy. Amazing. We'll get to him later in the story. So many amazing people. So again, if you're a wine drinker, you would love Cave B, because not only can you get great wines, but you can also possibly get a chance to see one of the band members. So Cave B, of course, they have their own little Airbnb, and the band stays back towards the back of Cave B. So there we are, hoping to get away from anyone that goes by. I don't know who was in that. I don't know if anyone found out, but we were out there waving and hoping for the best. So as you can see, there's some of the wine, the vineyard, the vines, the wine vines, is that what you call them? And a lot of our friends that were out there hoping to get a sneak peek. So let's talk about the venue, right? We've been trying to get there. The venue is large, but you're gonna see that. This is a general rundown on how it's made. It looks very standard, right? Looks very standard on paper. However, it is not a standard venue. And let's talk a little bit more about that. So there we are walking in. It's beautiful that you get all of the opportunities to take all of the Gorge pictures. There's me and my husband as we walk in for night one. We're so excited. We're getting all the pictures taken, and there we are walking in. It's a great picture opportunity. And if you've ever been to the Gorge, I'm certain that you have that picture. So right before this next video airs, one of the things that everyone said we want for you to capture for yourself is what everyone was calling cresting the hill, meaning there's a hill at the Gorge that you go up, and the moment you get on top of it and start to go over, it kind of opens up for you. You can see the stage, you can see the Gorge below. I mean, it's beautiful, it's breathtaking. I told my husband at some point, I was like, you don't have to record me the whole time. And he was like, yes, I do. And so we went all the way up the hill together, but I think that this is good in hindsight. I'm like, hey, you know what, actually, this was perfection. Thank you, Justin. So we're walking up the hill, and this is the hill that everyone is talking about. This is the way, because there are two ways. There's this way, and there's another way that doesn't give you quite this view. And so here we go. Now, keep in mind, as we're watching this, I am trying to do a Facebook Live while doing this, because I'm like, I want everyone to experience it with me. And so here we are. This is the crest. This is the view. This is the money shot right here. This is what everyone wants. And no matter what seat you have at the Gorge, this is the view that you're going to get when you first get there. So this is an area that a picture that everyone can get. So again, you know, being at the Gorge was amazing because there were so many people from all around the country that were there, and we got the opportunity again to see them. So this is just a few pictures of people that were there, of course, to see the Dave Matthews Band, but then also awesome, like they listened to my podcast. So thank you so much for stopping me and saying, hey, we love what you're doing. Thank you. It just made my heart feel so awesome. But I met lots of new people too, and people that are amazing. So of course at the Gorge there are some openers. So this is one that I wanted you to hear because a little something special happened. So let's listen to this.
These are bad people.
For the love that's grown, oh, try some new scenery. So how many more miles to Yosemite?
So of course, there's always great openers at the Gorge, and this year was no exception. Blew me away. But let's get to the show. Let's get to the part where the Dave Matthews Band shows up, because really, that's my favorite band, so I love to talk about them. So let's talk about the show and what happened night one. So much excitement in the group, so much excitement. We were ready for whatever happened, but what did they do first? Listen and see if you can pick it up.
What's it gonna be? Oh, American Baby intro.
Can you hear the excitement in the crowd? People are losing their shit, and it was pretty awesome to get to see. That's my girl, Shannon. Amazing night, amazing set list, a night I will never forget. Just a few of the highlights, of course, opening with ABI. I mean, Break Free, one of my favorites. Cry Freedom, wasn't expecting that, but what a place to get it. Number 27, I Love You. I mean, I printed out the lyrics when I was like, I'm gonna do this because like this is a song that is so powerful and so wonderful. And we got that night one. But then it kept going and going. I mean, we got Spoon night one. Night one, we got Spoon. So I'm like, what's gonna happen night two and night three? Okay, day two. So we're gonna talk about some more Gold Camping activities. Again, that's where I was. So Gold Camping did their first ever Gorge whiskey exchange. And so all this involved was people that wanted to be involved or could bring a bottle of bourbon to exchange, that was the event. So of course, with people traveling all over the world to see the Dave Matthews Band at the Gorge, there were some really amazing bourbons that showed up. And so this was an opportunity for people to get to try bourbons that they can't get in their area. Because if there's anything we know about bourbon, not all brands are available everywhere, and some are really hard to find. Here's a close-up of the bottles that, and of course they kept coming in. So this was taken at the very beginning. So I know that there were more added. But this is just a few shots of some friends that came to the Whiskey Exchange. It was a really successful event. And I know that if you are really into that idea, I know that that is something that they do at the Dave and Tim Cancun event every year. I believe this is year 3 going into 2024. So there's Larry Smith. There's my husband. Both love bourbon. And if you haven't seen their episode about one drink to remember and 10 samples to forget, then definitely go back in time. That's available on YouTube and on your favorite podcast app. So there's part 1 and part 2, and it's all things bourbon. So if you like bourbon, this will be a good one. But that's how many people showed up to the bourbon event. A very successful event. We did do it again in between day 2 and 3. Not as many people showed up, but we had so much bourbon, we really kind of had to get rid of it. So let's go into night 2. Night 2 was special because I got to go to the pit. And the reason, again, of course, I love being in the pit. It's close to the music, but also, again, with this video, I wanted to give a perspective to the viewers of what it looks like to be back far back. So in night 1, I was in the lawn. Night 2, I'm in the pit. So we're just going to see how it looks if you're in different places. And that's something that I like to do at all the venues. So let's take a few minutes to look at all my videos from the pit. One of the surprises that we did get in night 2 was Joe Lawler made his special appearance and came out and jammed with the band. And so that is the next clip that we're going to watch from night 2 is the guest Joe Lawler. If there's something that almost every Dave fan likes, it's Dave speak or Dave dance. And so night 2, we got a lot of Dave dance. I would say every night we got a lot of Dave dance, but I didn't get to see it up close unless it was night 2. So let's take a look at a little Dave dance. So there are a few friends that I ran into the pit for night 2. Again, Dave Matthews Band family, some of the most amazing people I've ever met. Now, night 2, I did sneak out of the pit and go back to be with my husband, and the timing couldn't have been better because we got a song that honestly took my breath away. It was called Just Breathe, and of course, it's a Pearl Jam cover that no one had ever heard Dave sing, and we got it night 2 at the Gorge. So I was able to share that moment with my husband, and then also I broke out the Butterfly Wings. So it was an amazing night, and here was the set list. So guys, as I mentioned earlier, this was my very first time to visit the Gorge. And of course, since it was my very first time, it was also the very first time that the Space Between podcast had been to the Gorge as well. And so since this whole podcast is about documenting the story of the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. And so because the podcast had been out for just a few months prior to us going to the Gorge, there were so many people that came up to me and to my husband and to our RV that was labeled The Space Between, and just, gave us the best wishes and the best compliments and the best attaboys they could have given us. So the next few slides are just some people that either sent us pictures with our RV or that came to see us and just spread the love of the Space Between podcast. So enjoy the next few slides. Thank you again for all of the support behind this podcast. This has been a passion project turned into something a little bit more, and I'm so thankful to still be doing this and to have the support of so many people that also realize that the story of the fans should be documented, and that's what we're doing. So let's go into night 3. This would have been the last night of the Gorge, and we started out right. As you can see, a group of us did face shirts. I got to be Rashawn, and so the whole band was represented in shirts, and so what an amazing night that was. And there's the set list. I have included a few pictures from night 3 that I thought just were incredible representation of that night. Of course, closing the whole Gorge out with the last stop into Halloween. But, some of the guests that we had, again, just made this Gorge even more special than all the ones I'd seen before, not being there. And so what's next? Of course, packing up. And so that was something I wasn't quite prepared for, but after night 3, you leave day 4 of that Monday. So we're up early, we're getting everything pulled down, and we caught a ride with Philly Billy all the way back to Seattle. Because you remember, it's a little under 3 hours to get back to Seattle. So people that had early flights, again, it's a lot of planning. But we ended the whole trip in Seattle at a local seafood restaurant. And of course, they had a Dave Matthews and Tim Reynolds poster up. And so I was like, this is the perfect ending to our first trip to the Gorge. And guys, I hope that this video was something that maybe made it a little more real to you if you had never been but always heard. And there are so many groups on Facebook and all of social media. There are YouTube videos that can guide you through the Gorge, but I wanted to specifically be a fan that had been for Dave Matthews Band that had never been before and reported back a story. But not just my story, but hopefully the story of a lot of other fans that were there at the Gorge as well. So guys, if this is your first time to listen to me talk about the Dave Matthews Band and the fans behind them, I just want you to know that this is actually episode 61. Can you believe it? I have 60 other episodes that are available in some form. A lot of them are on just podcasts, so that would be available through any of the major podcast apps, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. All of those are available under the Space Between podcasts, but then several of these, as you can see right now, are available on YouTube. So you can go back and watch some of your friends or people you may not know, but have the common interest of loving the Dave Matthews Band. And so we're just shedding light on behind the scenes of the band. And we have some great guests coming, so definitely stay tuned. A new episode comes out every Friday, and for the most part, they are available, like I said, both on podcast, on YouTube. This week was a little bit different, of course, because this was more of a visual storytelling. I really wanted you to see the maps, the voyage to the Gorge, what camping looked like, what does the Gorge look like, what does cresting the hill mean? And so because this is more of a visual story, I really wanted to point everybody in the direction of our YouTube channel. But also I wanted to just shed the light that we do have a YouTube channel, thanks to my wonderful editor, Andy Mendoza, who has been here since day 1 supporting this podcast, and again, just like-mindedness that we want the story of the fans of the Dave Matthews Band to go into history, just like all the bands before. The Grateful Dead had their fans go into history. We want to make sure that the fans of the Dave Matthews Band go into history, and so that's what this podcast is about. So guys, I hope that you stay tuned. Every week is different, so if you don't like an episode, switch it. Go to the next one. There's 61 episodes now, so there's lots of variety and spice out there. So, guys, I hope that you have enjoyed this. Be sure to stay tuned next Friday for another episode, and peace, love, and Dave Matthews Band.